Hey everybody, welcome back to the Lion Turtle Podcast. I'm Sal.
And I'm Christy.
And here we like to talk about travel. Sorry for the late episode, but this episode is going to be meaty. Is that the word? A little meaty. So we didn't put out anything last week because we really wanted to iron out the details of this episode and make sure we were explaining things in a concise and clear to understand manner. So what is today's episode? Well, the point of today's episode is going to be how we got our Thailand tickets for cheap. And friends of mine on Facebook actually voted on that because I put out a poll giving two options, and the one that won out was how we got our tickets to Thailand for cheap. So if you don't know at this point, we got business class tickets from San Antonio to Bangkok and economy class tickets from Hong Kong back to San Antonio. Total cost to us was $292. The value of those tickets was $11,600. $11,000. So with
it's crazy.
With 1,000 with a T, is that what people say?
I guess.
They say billions with a B, 1,000 with a T.
It was a lot of money. It's worth a lot of money.
Yeah, to us it was worth a lot of money, and we got the tickets for super cheap, and we're excited on how we did it. And yeah, apparently other people were interested in how we did it too. So that's the point of this episode. We want to share that information, the steps that we took, what we did, and if you like that information, or you think you know someone who might like that information, feel free to share the episode wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor. Or if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to comment, leave a like, subscribe, share the video, share it with friends who maybe you have friends that have been saying, oh, I want to travel. I wish I could go somewhere. I've always wanted to fly first class or business class or something. This episode might be able to help them out. I think so, right?
I think so. It might help a lot, especially if you start from the beginning, our first couple episodes, and if you don't know anything about earning miles and points.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Christy's going to jump into explaining the first part of it, which was how we got the miles necessary to be able to do this trip. Because obviously we didn't just go on Expedia and search for $200 tickets.
Those don't exist.
Those don't exist.
Not for two people.
Yeah. So we actually had to get the miles. So how did we do that?
Okay, so at the time, we didn't know where we were going. We didn't have a trip planned or anything.
No idea.
We were just doing what we always do, where, we just apply for a card, meet the spend, and earn the bonus, because eventually we know that we will be going somewhere.
Yeah.
And so during that time, the city credit cards that are co-branded with American Airlines, they had good bonuses available. And Sal had already done these cards under, his name.
I did.
And with those miles, we were able to go to Scotland and Ireland. Mm-hmm. And so since that worked out so well, we thought, okay, it'll be my turn. I'm going to get all the same cards and earn all the miles possible. And then we'll figure out where we go from there. And so what I did was I applied for 3 city cards co-branded with American Airlines. And what that means is that all the miles that you earn are going to be with American Airlines. So Citi and American Airlines partner together on these cards. And that's what you earn.
And there was a 4th card you got.
And the 4th card was the Barclay Aviator Red Card, which is also a partner of American Airlines. So it was more miles to earn on American Airlines. And so it's good when you kind of do that, because you pull together a lot of miles or points in one. Instead of getting a little bit here, a little bit there, and then you have to spread them out.
How long did you work on it? It was 4 cards.
So it was all 4 cards. We were able to meet the spends and then earn the bonus, one by one. We worked on one at a time, but it was 6 months. By the end of 6 months that we were all done, we had earned the bonuses and we had a good amount of miles. All those miles had to go somewhere, right?
Yeah, so that's kind of a pro tip. If you don't have a frequent flyer account with that airline, whatever airline's co-branded with that card, make sure you open up a frequent flyer account first. That way you have your frequent flyer account, you know what the username and password is for it. And usually when you apply for these cards, you can write down your frequent flyer number. And so it'll automatically attach to your account, so you can bank all of these points, put them all in one pot together. If not, then you run the risk of maybe creating multiple frequent flyer accounts. One of the rules is if it's your card, it has to be your account. So I already had a frequent flyer number. Christy couldn't open those cards against my frequent flyer number. She had to open up her own. So make sure you're opening up your own.
Or getting your own number.
Or getting your own number,
frequent flyer number,
and using that number when you apply to the different cards. Doing that is how we were able to bank up that 273,000 miles into one account. And so it made things a lot easier when we were actually cashing in those miles or using those miles.
Right. And speaking of easy, like we said, one of the cards was that Barclay Aviator Red.
Oh, yeah.
And which is why we were able to do this in 6 months, because that Barclay Aviator Red card is pretty unique. in that it doesn't have a spend per se like most of the other cards. This one, it just requires one purchase. And it doesn't matter what the purchase is, or it doesn't matter how much the purchase is. You make that purchase, and then when we did it, we were able to earn 60,000 miles.
What did you buy? You bought like a protein bar?
I got an energy drink. I was at the gym, got an energy drink, and bam, then we were able to earn the miles. Yep. Yeah. The only thing with that card is because it's so easy to meet their required spend, you could say, there is a $95 annual fee.
Yeah, that's something all the cards waive the fee for us the first year except this one.
Right. So the other three that I applied for, it's nice because the first year, like Sal said, we didn't have to pay any annual fees. Yeah. Except for on the one Aviator Red card, we did pay, but it was worth it to us to pay that $95 fee because, I mean, I spent $5 on an energy drink. And then $95. So let's say for $100, we still got 60,000 miles.
The whole story with that card is so weird.
Oh,
too.
Yeah, that's right. So, and then on top of that, we were on our way to Scotland at the time in the plane, and the flight attendant was like, I want to make a special announcement about the Barclay Aviator Red Card.
That's how flight attendants talk.
And she, basically said, if you apply for the card in flight, you'll get a 500-mile bonus for applying during the flight. And so I told Saul, hey, I should do it. We were already planning on getting this card.
Oh, you weren't that calm about it. You were like, oh my God, I'm going to get an extra 500 miles. Give me that pen and paper.
Yeah, and it was a pen and paper application.
Who does that?
In the flight. But I mean, it was only another 500 miles, but 500 miles is 500 miles.
Yeah,
so we did it. And it worked. So, yeah, instead of 60,000 bonus, we got 65,000, right?
No.
60,500.
Yeah, that's how we math in this house.
Okay, but moving on. So we got all the miles that we needed.
Everything was banked up. And so I would, during my lunch break at work, I had a computer, and I would just log on to the American Airlines website, and I would check awards flights. And I was just trying to see where we could go, where those miles could take us. And they could, at this point, take both of us together anywhere in the world we wanted to go. So Christy and I were discussing it, and we had already gone to Asia a couple of times, and we had just finished going to Europe. And so we decided we wanted to go back to Asia, but this time Southeast Asia, and we settled on Thailand. The big selling point for us was the last few trips we took, we spent money while we were there. Like, getting there was cheap, right? We used miles and points to get wherever we were going. We used miles and points to get accommodations, or we stayed with family. But we still spent money doing stuff. And we spent money on food and eating out and all this other stuff. So we were thinking, well, why not go to Thailand? Thailand's a lot less expensive to actually go out and do stuff. So we both decided on Thailand because it was a lot less expensive. And checking the American Airlines website, the award flights, I realized that there's not very many options as far as flights to get us there from San Antonio to Bangkok. We were limited on the options, limited on the days. And I told Christy about it, and she's like, well, American Airlines is with One World, so we need to look at the One World partners with American Airlines. And she was like, well, and she's like, we need to find out also if the miles are going to transfer or how that's going to work. So we figured out that American Airlines charges you by region. So United States is a region, Southeast Asia is a region. The miles that they would charge us for one person on economy one way was 37,500, and one person in business was 70,000. So we looked at it and we said, okay, if we both want to take business round trip, it's going to be 280,000 miles. We have 272, 273,000. We just missed it. So we knew, okay, we're going to take probably business or economy there, business or economy back. It's going to be one or the other. And so Christy was looking at One World, and she told me, I think we can do Cathay Pacific.
Right. And so, like Sal said, since American Airlines is part of One World, you do have options. There's a few other airlines that can get you to Thailand with American Airline miles. But we chose Cathay Pacific because they have good reviews as far as their business class service. And we were able to try out one of their lounges also on another trip. And I mean, the lounge really impressed us. They had good food and great service in the lounge, and it was clean.
It's
and
like a
enjoyable.
hotel. It's like a hotel. We were blown away and super excited. And I was like, I felt like we were gonna get kicked out because it was so nice. And I'm like, Do we really belong here? Well, yeah, we could be in there. And it was awesome.
Yeah. So, we really want to try Cathay Pacific. So that's what we decided on. And even though Cathay Pacific is a partner, you can't just go to the American Airlines website and, search, San Antonio to Bangkok on Cathay Pacific. Nothing's going to show up. You're going to get nothing. None of the flights with Cathay Pacific show up on the American Airlines website.
And the Cathay Pacific website is actually really hard to use too. Like I've tried going on there looking for awards flights. I didn't even try it. Yeah, I tried and I was like, that's not working. But Christy figured out a workaround.
Right, and it's because the miles. So the credit cards and the airlines want to make it not so easy for you to get these award flights using those miles and points. So you got to learn some tips and tricks. And so in order to do that, you go over to British Airways website. And on the British Airways website, you create a login. It's free, so it's no big deal. Remember, it has to be an award flight since you're not paying in cash. And so there's less availability as far as what award seats are open. But yeah, once you are logged in, you can start searching for what you need.
They still don't make it simple though.
Yeah.
So like you can't just go in there and say San Antonio to Bangkok. And you know how like on Expedia or something, you can type in like your home, where you're starting from, where you want to end up. And then the website will show you all the connecting flights, all the arrival times and departure times and all that stuff. And you just pick from a list of which one you want. Well, doing it this way, you actually have to kind of build it out yourself because they don't make it easy, especially on the British Airways looking at awards flights. So Christy and I had to do some extra thinking. And I'm not very good at thinking, but she is. So working together, we were able to figure it out. So the first thing we had to figure out was we want to fly Cathay Pacific. We've already made that decision. We know that Cathay Pacific doesn't fly out of San Antonio. So we had to research what airports does Cathay Pacific operate in the United States. And so there's like 9 different airports. And we also figured out that Cathay Pacific doesn't fly directly to Thailand. Cathay Pacific, you have to make a connection in Hong Kong. So it's Cathay Pacific from one of their airports in the United States to Hong Kong. From there, then you can get to Bangkok. So we already knew, okay, we have to do 3 flights.
Because we have to get ourselves to one of the hubs.
Right, we have to get to the hub. So we knew San Antonio to the hub, from the hub to Hong Kong, and then from Hong Kong to Bangkok. So it's 3 flights. We made sure with American Airline rules, we were good with that. So if you're booking an award flight with American Airlines, you can't do more than 4 flights. So since we were only doing 3, we knew we were good with that. Once we had like a general outline of what we needed, it was just a matter of filling in the blanks and researching the individual flights.
Right. And so we had to figure out, you think we're just going to start with flight 1, flight 2, flight 3, but you don't really start at the beginning. You start in the middle. Is what we figured out that worked for us.
Because you have to plan around it.
And you plan around. And the reason you do that is there's less availability in that long haul flight. And again, we wanted business class, so there's even less availability in business class award seats. So we searched hub city to Hong Kong first. And we searched all the hub cities because it didn't really matter to us where we flew out of.
We just wanted business class.
We just wanted business class. So, we're searching 9 hubs. That took some time. Luckily, we did have flexibility. We had a 10-day window that we could book from.
Yeah.
And, which was good because some of the hubs had 0 availability in business class.
But you think about it, 9 airports with a 10-day window, it was like 90 different searches. But we just kept our notes and went through it.
Right. So like Sal said, you have to keep notes, write down the dates and the airports and the flight numbers, keep track of everything and the times. So that way you don't get confused and you don't have to go back and forth. Because like I said, so we started from the hub city to Hong Kong. But then you got to get that third piece, which is Hong Kong to Bangkok. And you have to make sure that they line up right, that you can get to Hong Kong and that the flight leaves after you get there because you don't want to get there and the flight's already gone. So you be very careful. Just keep good notes and you'll be okay.
We left the British Airways website because keep in mind, the whole time we were on this, we were doing this on the British Airways website. We left the British Airways website and we went back to the American Airlines website. And then on that website is when we actually looked for San Antonio to the hub airport that we were looking at. And so remember, we said we had a 10-day window we were looking at. So we had about 2 or 3 different options with various hub cities. And so we were just checking to see which flight would work for us. And you would think that it would be easy, but it's actually not because sometimes the flights, they don't leave early enough to get you to that hub city in time for in time for the main flight to
Right.
leave. So, and we didn't want to like risk like a 45-minute layover or an hour layover. Like we wanted a couple of hours to make sure we didn't miss anything. Yeah. So we did that. Through all of this research, though, we figured out some rules, right? Some rules that apply. And so one of the things was obviously we made sure the times matched up. But the other thing we realized with Cathay Pacific, and we actually found this out over the phone, was that when we're looking on British Airways website, it shows you Cathay Pacific Awards flights, but it'll show you economy, or it'll show you Cathay Pacific Awards flights. It'll show you economy, premium economy, and business class.
Or first class.
And first class. We realized that the premium economy doesn't fall under the American Airline rewards. It's only economy and business class. So that kind of threw a wrench
and first class.
And first class. So that kind of, we didn't even look at first class because we didn't have the points.
But the only one that doesn't count is that premium economy.
Yeah, that's why I don't even mention the first class. We didn't even really look at it. But the premium economy doesn't count. So that was a learning thing for us. So if you ever look at a Cathay Pacific flight with awards and you're using American miles, don't even bother looking at the premium economy. It's not going to work out. A couple of other things we learned when researching was our layovers versus stopovers, right? So American, when you're booking awards flights, if it's a domestic flight, so inside the United States, if the layover is less than 8 hours, it considers it a layover. If it's more than 8 hours, it considers it a stopover. And when you're international, less than 24 hours is a layover. More than 24 hours is a stopover. So what is the difference between a layover and a stopover other than the time? Well, American will charge you extra, or they'll break up your one flight, your one trip, they'll break it up into 2 trips because they'll say, oh, okay, you flew from San Antonio to this airport in this other city and you waited 24 hours before your next flight. Well, we're going to count that as one trip and they're going to charge you whatever the regional rates are for that one trip. And then when you leave your hub city to Bangkok, well, they'll charge you the regional rates for that. So you could end up spending more miles than you need to. So if you want to break up your trip because you want to spend some time in a connection city or something, that's okay. You can do that. But just realize that it's going to be considered 2 different trips or 3 different trips, however many stopovers that you have. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that we figured out when we were doing research and, making sure that we're putting together that good itinerary. After we had all those rules down and we did all that research to figure out how to get there, there was one more step that we had to figure out, and that was...
Well, not one more step, but it was important to figure out how to get home.
How to get home.
We go there, but yes, we got to come back.
Yeah.
And it's basically the same process to find your way back. You start in the middle again, find that main flight to get you from Hong Kong back to the U.S., and then you can find the hub city back to your home city if you need that. But for us, we didn't find a flight out of Bangkok to Hong Kong because there wasn't one when we were looking, actually. There just wasn't availability that lined up well for us to be able to leave when we wanted to leave out of Hong Kong to the hub city. But that was okay for us. It gave us more flexibility because now we don't have to leave Bangkok and we don't have to leave on a certain day because we can get to Hong Kong a couple days early and spend some time in Hong Kong before we catch that flight.
Yeah, we did some outside looking, and like flights from Asia to Hong Kong, they're like $50 to $150 one way. It's cheap. So
yeah, so it's not too bad. And so we're getting, I guess you could kind of think of it like we're getting a little bit less for our miles coming home, but we're gaining a lot more flexibility.
Yeah, the flexibility is a big one.
Because we can even go to another country and fly out of another country all the way to Hong Kong. It's just, it's a little more open-ended for when we're coming back.
So we had dates, airports, flight numbers. And then the final thing that we did just to finally pull the trigger on all of it was we actually called American Airlines and we talked to someone on the phone. And Christy did the talking.
Yep. I did it.
She did it. And so because it was her frequent flyer number, we wanted her to be the one on the phone. We called American Airlines. We said, we want to book some awards flights. We had way more information at first that we were trying to give. And the person over the phone was like, no. Just give me the date, give me the airport, like the destination. And we're like, okay. And she was pretty professional about it, though.
She was. I mean, she knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, she was pretty nice. And like all we did was basically confirm that she was looking at the same one that we had. So it was helpful to have all that information.
Yeah, to have the flight number, that was really helpful.
And confirm the cities, because there was a one or two where she was actually looking at a different one.
Yeah, I think it was actually better. The one that she was able to see, I don't know if it was better or not.
I don't know, but it helps. Yeah. You can compare, and yeah, the agent might even be able to find something better for you.
Yeah, and then so when we went through all of that, we made our final decisions as far as what flights we're connecting to, et cetera, et cetera. And then, yeah, she booked the flights. Now, normally, if you call over the phone to book a flight, you get charged a $25 over the phone booking fee. But if you remember, we were finding these flights on British Airways, and then we were finding a flight on American Airlines. You can't book it between two different websites online and stuff. You just can't. And so without even asking, she just waived that fee for us. Mm-hmm. And you said British Airways, just for clarification, you can't book on British Airways even if you wanted to, because we have the American miles, right?
Right. You're just looking on British Airways, but you're not going to book anything at all. I mean, it's the same flight number, same dates, but that's why you can't book with your miles, because you have American Airline, or we had American Airline miles.
So over the phone, we booked the flights, and total what we had to pay over the phone was $197. That was the taxes and fees for flying there and flying back. $197. Earlier in the episode, we mentioned the $95 Barclay Red Aviator card. We count that fee just because we got benefits out of the card, obviously, but it's still cash that we paid. So $95 plus $197, that's where we get the $292 that we paid for those tickets. And that gets us all the way to Thailand. It's not too shabby.
Pretty good deal right there.
Yeah, I'll take that deal all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. I think that's how the phrase goes.
Right. So that brings us to
Tip of the day.
Tip of the day.
So, Christy, you have 12.33 seconds to explain your tip of the day. Go.
All right. Those taxes and fees that you have to pay, do not pay with your debit card.
Don't do that.
That will be the worst thing you can do. Make sure, and then, you might have a daily card or a credit card that you're working on the spend. So you might think, okay, I'll use that one. But just remember, if you have a airline co-branded flight like we did, so because we had those American Airline cards with Citi, we decided to use one of those because now we're going to also get the benefits from using the card to pay those taxes and fees. What that gives us is now we get free check bags for both of us, and we get priority boarding. Which
is good for the economy flight on the way back.
Which is good for any of the flights.
Yeah, well, anytime you book a flight.
Yeah,
priority boarding.
And so, by paying those taxes and fees on the American Airlines card, we're going to get to use those benefits. So let's say we're taking a check bag that's $50 each on the way there, $50 each on the way back, and that's $200.
That's $200.
So it cancels out those taxes and fees pretty much.
We made good, actually, positive by $3 if you think about it.
That's true.
So that's our tip of the day. Did I miss anything? Is there anything that we might have missed so far in the episode?
I think we covered it all. I mean, it is quite a bit of a tricky one.
Yeah. There's a lot of steps to it.
But it's worth it. Like, like we said, we were able to get the tickets for both of us, a total of $292 if you count that annual fee.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's going to be a pretty good deal. Then you're not going to be able to find anywhere.
If you're listening on podcasts, wherever those podcasts may be, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, hit a review, hit like, hit subscribe, hit favorite the episode. If you have a friend who's interested in traveling, feel free to share the content because I really think it might help them out. But with that being said, until next time.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.